back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here with a brand new character review. Today we're looking at Elsirelle, released last week for Global alongside Garvel. Interesting new unit that, at first when I first saw her, I wasn't that intrigued. I'm like, I don't really see the point of her, you know, where she fit in the grand scheme of things. But the more and more I'm looking at her, the more and more I'm excited about putting her into practice, because although as a standalone unit may not be as, you know, unique or interesting as some of the others that we've gotten recently, but I think as a cog within a team, I think she's going to play a super critical role that not many others can do so far. So let's jump into why that's the case and kind of go over who she is. She's a light element unit with the most ridiculous limit break animation in the game, as you can see here on the left. The drop, she's the Nightblade, Spellblade, and Dual Gunner. So the Nightblade is the one that's brand new for her. And so when I saw the Spellblade and Dual Gunner, we've got a lot of those in the game. You know, that's why when I first saw her kit, I'm like, how good is Nightblade? That's going to really differentiate her from the others, because other than that, Spellblade and Dual Gun are pretty generic. They don't offer a whole lot. There's already a bunch of it in the game. What makes her different? So we'll get there soon, but in the meantime, great sword for the weapon, armor, helmet, accessory with a move of 3 and a jump of 1. So the mobility overall, a little limited. She doesn't have anything in her kit that really changes that. So one thing to work around for sure. In terms of the resistances, this is where you start to see the breadcrumb trail to really what makes her her, and it's really through the way of the resistances. So slash and magic, she's at 0, so that's great. You know, baseline 0. For pierce and missile, 15 and 10%, and actually it's really 20% and 15%, because her Trust Mastery ability boosts both of them by 5%. So from that perspective, she's already inherently strong against 2 very potent attack types. And the strike weakness is whatever, that type isn't seen very often. But regardless, we're going to see why this comes into play a lot more soon in terms of the resistances. So my general thoughts. She is a bulky, hard-hitting. Her offensive output is fantastic. Like, really like a step below even Knight of Ruinstern. Like, it's up there. Slash or missile unit with a fair amount of AoE potential, because she does. She's got a bunch of different sources of it, which is really great. She can easily take on Pierce, Missile, Magic comps with the resist and the abilities. So Pierce and Missile obviously swaps from the resistances and from what she has in her kit. The Magic one, a little bit less so, but it's still there, because the Spellblade job obviously has Magic resistance as an ability, but there's also a Magic Shield, which decreases it by 50% for 3 turns. So there's also a Magic Reflex, so you can definitely build her toward that if you wanted to. So it's really those 3 niches that I think is where she shines. The really interesting part, once you look past the character, is the amount of vision cards and espers that go with her, and what profile you want to build her with. It's the most I've ever done in a character review, by far. The amount of options you have, how to build her and how to fit her, is bigger than anything I've done in any of these reviews, which to me is a really fun way to theory craft about the character. Incredible accuracy. This is a huge feather in her cap. Right now, she has dethroned Federica for the most accurate character in the game with passives. Awesome. The reason why that's great is obviously because when it comes to equipment, you can now put that more equipment at resists, defense, stats, less so at accuracy or evasion, or we'll get into those soon. But yeah, that's a really important thing. And then the last thing, she does have some rarer abilities. One is brand new to the game. It's an AoE pierce and missile resist up 25%. Enemy healing down, which you've seen Kane have, which is extremely useful for utility. And then she has a very reliable drain attack that's very special, and one of the things I underrated when I first saw the kit. So, let's get into the stats. From an evasion standpoint, let's be honest, she's not an evade unit. We'll leave it at that and move on. Of the stats, though, luck, though, she does have an above-average amount of luck at 217 compared to 200. And total agility, she's at 59 compared to 60 for the average. So, totally average speed, that's fine. We can work with that. In terms of the accuracy, so you're going to see she still has that total luck above average, but dexterity is actually very bad, which means she's not going to hit a lot of crits, but that doesn't actually affect her accuracy in a way that you might think, because her Trust Mastery gives her 10% accuracy just always, and then one of the passives that you're going to have equipped on all the time, I promise, gives her 25% accuracy. So those in conjunction, all of a sudden she's at the top of the list, and it's pretty fucking incredible. So I really like that perspective to her. The last thing, and just relating to why she's okay against magic comps, she has 8 SPR. She's got no defense. So the resists are really the way that she does the physical tanking, but that little bit of SPR and the Spellblade job is how she might be able to do some of the magic stuff. So just to keep that in mind. Now, class and job overview. Passive abilities, there's not many, there's only 4, which is why you're always going to have Nightblade Mastery on. I just don't see any reason why you wouldn't. Attack 30%, increased accuracy 25%. It's just too good. Obviously, the decrease of evasion rate is a penalty, but she doesn't really need it, so we'll forget about it. Providence of Darkness obviously can be used if you're building her more for the magic tank or the more magic resist. All part of why that she can still take on that type very easily. Missile Mastery is obviously great for enemies that don't have a lot of defense, where you want the higher modifiers, but if you do have enemies that do have a lot of defense, she's got Tune-Up, which not only gives her the 40% defense penetration, but also a super valuable 12% agility boost. So, love Tune-Up personally. I am probably doing Nightblade Mastery and Tune-Up in like 80% of the cases. So, a little limited for abilities, but they're good ones. We'll leave it at that. Counter abilities, again, kind of something a little lacking. They created Counter Swing for the Nightblade job, but like, this is just a basic counter. There's really nothing special here, but the only good thing about it is that you can tailor these for, depending on the fight you want to fight. So Predictive Fire is great for longer range maps, Counter Swing is great for brawls, Magic Guard's great for going against magic teams, but overall, none of these are special, so whatever. We get into what makes her unique now, at least some of which. So the Nightblade sub-job, number one, I love Stun Blade. It's super cheap, got decent range. I love the stun ability. The only downside is she's not a unit that you want very high faith on, so you're not going to proc the stun as often as you'd like, but I do still like the ability. I think it has a lot of use. Double resist here is brand new. It's absolutely incredible. Increased pierce and missile resist 25% for herself and allies. Ridiculous. So right out of the gate, she's going to be at like 45% pierce resist and 40% missile resist, if I have that right. Yeah. Incredible. The Maiming Slash, this is the healing power down, or the healing power down. Love it. It's an AoE, 28 AP, decent, it's actually a good amount of damage for an AoE, so that's great. Concentration here is pretty standard for a lot of the new characters, where it's an additional source of defense penetration and some ability to, or, weapon type up for whatever they use. And then Drain Rush. This is the Drain ability that is very different from how you might see some of the Soldier class Drain Force builds, that those scale off HP. This one scales off of damage done, which is great because she does do a lot of damage. It is a great modifier, 170%. The most underrated thing about it, though, it's a triple hit ability. So using her in conjunction with other slash teams or light teams, like the Drain Rush obviously is going to hit decently hard, but it's also going to be a triple hit and it's going to give her health. So really interesting part of her kit from that respect. The sub job, not a huge fan of. AP Drain is probably good for manual stuff when you really need it, but Spinning Slash, as great as it is in terms of modifiers, cost, and AoE, I just don't think this gives her optimal usage compared to the other two sub jobs. Because AP Drain is something that the AI will not use in the majority of the cases, if ever. Not much to say here from the Spellblade perspective that I haven't already said. Resist Magic is obviously amazing. Taunt Spell here is where she's going to become your tank and proc some of that hate. Magic Barrier is pretty great. This is really standard. There are some magic attacks here, but you're not going to be boosting her magic. She's literally an attack-based character, so don't spend too much time trying to really invest in the Spellblade attacks. From a Dual Gunner perspective, though, the thing that's interesting about Dual Gunner, number one, that I love, is Smokescreen as the ability, because we've talked about she does not have defense. This gives her defense. This also increases the evasion rate to make up for the penalty on the passive. Not that she needs it, but that's why I say the evasion rate penalty on the Nightblade passive isn't a huge deal, because you can easily make it back if you really needed to. But there's a ton of AoE potential here, but just between split shot, horizontal shot, and what she already has in the main job. Double hit here for dual trigger, which is an amazing ability. And although the AP cost is higher on average for these, this is the most amazing thing about that take, her limit break. So if you level this to max, and I think it's worth it. Decrease AP consumption by 40%. And it's an AoE, and it's 43 AP, super cheap limit break, which means you use this limit burst, and this horizontal shot that costs 40 AP, well, all of a sudden, it only costs you 24 AP. Ridiculous cut down on AP overall, which is makes this dual gunner job a lot more hard-hitting in a macro sense, where she's going to use more of the abilities instead of one and then a regular attack. And so the overall team DPS output is going to be much higher because of that. The TMR, probably the least favorite TMR I've done in a while. For an accessory, it's got a good amount of SPR. The accuracy's nice. She doesn't really need that per se. I think there's better sources of SPR. And honestly, the TMR effect, increased accuracy, if you max it to 30, I think is pretty good. But if you don't, 10% accuracy boost is fairly immaterial in the broad scheme of the game. If you have a character that's blind and needs accuracy, and you need to find ways to do it, I mean, 10% is not going to cut it. Even 30% might not cut it. So either way, it's okay, but not must pull for that reason. And the master ability, increase HP 10% for allies, light attack 15, pretty standard, increase accuracy 10 for self, and pierce and missile resist 5%. So overall, that master ability is absolutely fantastic top to bottom. Now, let's get into the really interesting part, because up to this point, we're talking about Spellblade, Dual Gunner, like, okay, we've seen those before, no big deal. Even the Nightblade, all right, like, healing down, that's cool, like, there's a triple attack, but, like, that's not new, whatever. Well, let's see what really puts her into that fun theory crafting stage. So, if you're building her for the Slash profile, aka the Nightblade, I love Aegion. It does give accuracy for the party, which it doesn't really need, but your party's going to love. But the increase of slash attack to the party, 25, is great for those teams. In addition to, she's got an ability that boosts it in addition to that, so this will make it hit even harder. And increase slash resist penetration, so I think that's pretty great from perspective for her, while also giving her dexterity, which is going to greatly help her critical rate. The other one, Exorcist. So the Nightblade job actually applies to the effects on this. So she's going to get the defense penetration of 12 in addition to what she already has. She's going to start the battle with 20 AP, which is awesome, because with her limit break, she's just going to be blowing through AP quickly. And she does get the access to the ability of the triple hit. The reason why I really do like this is because she's so accurate, she potentially can go against those evade comps and feasibly hit them. And if she is using this ability on them, which decreases evasion by 40 for 3 turns, this might be an absolute game changer in how evasive the enemy comps are. So really like this card for the Slash profile. If you're going for the missile profile, pretty standard. New test subjects and Fred's Dream. Fred's Dream is obviously the stronger missile potency, but test subjects is all around better. The increased acquired AP is going to allow her to use that many more abilities that quickly. The unit resist, and then the dexterity of 70 going to help the critical rate a lot as well. So love these cards. In terms of the resistance is another. Odin, that's a mainstay for any DPS. I always have it here by default. Mask of Deceit, I actually really like a lot, because a lot of times you will, lean into what she does well. So if you are going to try to take her into missile comps and really stymie them, you're going to want this card on someone. She's a good candidate because obviously she'll get the party effect, but the Human Killer of 10% makes her hit harder, and the extra dexterity and luck is obviously going to help round out the critical rate and the accuracy as well. So love this card. Moonlight Fang Fenrir, kind of the same idea if you're building her for that magic resist. This is obviously going to help her from a party effect perspective. It's going to make her faster. 50 dexterity is going to help her with the crit rate. Increase HP 10%, make her even more tanky, so love this card. Finally, kind of underrated, Leviathan. I didn't think I'd put this in many builds because the unit effects are rather niche to who they apply to, but being a light unit and Nightblade applying to these classes, she gets everything on the card. So, 4 defense, attack 10%, HP 10%, slash attack 10%, increased pierce resist 20%, and access to Crash Edge the ability. Love this card on her. It's like tailor-made if you're going, against pierce comps and using her as the mainstay to do it. So that's the most vision cards I've ever done in a review. The Espers, the same thing. You're going for that pierce resist build, Aegion and Golem, great options because it's not just pierce resist. You got Human Killer, slash attack up, magic resist, defense, all things that she's going to want depending on how you build her. From a missile resist perspective, same idea here. Red Chocobo, Odin, Death Machine, you got defense, you have a slash attack on 2 of them, Human Killer, missile resist, all super well-rounded overall with varying degrees of agility, so you can easily agility tune her, if you know what I mean. Fenrir I have here as other, really similar to Aegion in that it's increased slash attack and magic resist, so this is more just if you're juggling a few different espers and need some backup. But on the topic of upcoming raids, though, with Golem coming out, Elsirelle is one of the bonus units, and Fenrir does have Esper Killer on it. So if you're thinking about resoing this with her, it's one of the 2 other than Leviathan. And then the others are typical missile, Tetrasulfate and Chocobo. That's if you're going really hard in the dual gunner job, which it's not bad, but probably want to round her out with these other ones instead. And finally, the weapon synergy. So it's really the Rune Blade and Golden Blade. The Rune Blade, to me, probably inferior of the 2, even though I have it listed first. To me, Golden Blade, here's the thing. She does, on the Rune Blade, she doesn't need the aim build. She's already accurate. If you're going for Assault on the Rune Blade, to me, you might as well do the Assault on the Golden Blade, because not only is the attack higher, but the modifier of 15 slash attack is there. Slash resist of 8%, to me, you really only want the sword is if you're actually trying to max her slash resistance and you need every bit possible. And if that's the case, I would say go with the critical build of the Rune Blade, because she needs help in the crit department and can hit hard enough, if you will, even without it. So I think in most instances, you want to go with the Golden Blade, because you're going to want to hunt Pierce, Missile, Magic. And if it just so happens that you need to go against a slash heavy team or an opponent, Rune Blade's a nice option, but I don't know if it's as, to her benefit or to her strengths, if you will. So that's it in a nutshell. Hopefully you can see why this character is really interesting. I'm really excited to fine-tune her with a whole bunch of different Espers and Vision cards, see what comps she really synergizes with, how she fits in with the light element teams, and what synergies there are there just between, Warrior of Light and Cecil and Thancred and that whole cast. And obviously with Yuna on the rise and being another light unit as well, Elsirelle is definitely going to play a factor in that in some capacity, I'm sure. So overall, really excited to try her out more. Obviously, let me know what you guys think about her so far. For those of you that have pulled her, I'd love to hear your own feedback alongside what I see when I tinker with her. But in the meantime, good luck pulling. Stay strong for those of you that are waiting for the Final Fantasy X banner. And in the meantime, have a good rest of the week. And I look forward to doing another character review soon. So take care, everybody.